people, a few more, okay. A few more people are going to be joining us, so I'll wait to like let them in. So if you don't want to be, we're going to record it, okay? If you don't want to be in the recording, you can take your camera off. And also you can rename your name. Actually, the way we record, we're not going to see you if you keep your name off, because I have it on as show non-video participants. Okay. So, or stop it. But you can rename yourself by going to the top right-hand corner. There's three dots. And if you click on that dot, the bottom portion says, it's like right in the center, it says rename. So you can rename it there. Okay. Um, so whatever you're comfortable with, and then we'll keep you off camera too. Um, okay. Does that sound good? So let's start. We'll start, and I'll have Carlos introduce himself. Then I'll introduce myself, and we're going to try to keep it as succinct as possible. And we know you guys have valuable time, so we're just going to get to it. Okay. And please, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. We'll be answering them as we go along, and probably save a little time at the end to do any kind of Q&A. So let's get going. Want to take it over, Carlos? Yeah.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Carlos Morero. I'm a guardian ad litem and a licensed clinical social worker and a mediator. In my role, I'm appointed guardian ad litem by the court, and I represent the best interests of children in high conflict custody or divorce cases.
That's great introduction there of yourself. And I'm Shel Sawyer. I'm a certified divorce financial analyst. I'm a mediator, certified divorce coach, and certified co-parenting coach. So I'm gonna dive in. I have a presentation I'm gonna pull up, okay? Um, and here it is, and I'll try to go through it as quickly as possible, but make sure you guys have all the information here. Do the presentation view. So welcome. Um, this is called Divorce Decisions That Protect Your Money and Your Children. So obviously you know who Carlos and I are now. So that's what we're going to talk about a little bit. And I'm going to talk about what are some practical steps that you can take right now to navigate your divorce with clarity and confidence. Okay. Um, what I really want to say is you don't have to navigate this alone, right? Divorce can be a little daunting and overwhelming. And I try to blend financial clarity, mediation and conflict resolution, and try to keep everything child-centered with some co-parenting support. And my goal here today is to give you a little clarity, a little calm, and a good starting point. Okay. So this is me. I told you I'm a mediator, personal divorce guide, financial recovery coach, co-parenting coach. So here's what I'm going to cover. I'm going to cover what financial clarity during divorce looks like, a little bit of co-parenting with less conflict, a few practical tips that you can use today, and then how to get some personalized support. So why does financial clarity matter? This is a big thing. Um, Divorce is emotional and it's financial. It's financial in nature. A big piece of this is financial, right? So having clarity about your finances helps you avoid some really costly mistakes. It allows you to make some really good informed decisions. You protect your long-term stability and you reduce some legal fees in conflict, right? And a little bit about this, like I'm going to go into some costly mistakes you can avoid. But I mean, one of the big things I do with my clients as a CDFA, certified divorce financial analyst, is look at their finances with them, help them understand what they own and owe, determine what is like the best settlement option for them, and looking at affordability, right? So that's where the making informed decisions come in. And then looking at your long term. So I usually run projections of what does your 5 year, 10 year, 20 years look like out. So you know what that stability is, right? You want to really protect your finances, but here's the thing about this, right? It's not just about you, it's about your children, right? And making sure you can provide for them and you're not strapped financially in your future because they will feel that. And then reduce legal fees and conflicts. So usually when I work with people initially and get them all ready to jump into the divorce arena, they feel more confident. They understand what they're jumping into, right? And it helps reduce legal fees in the end because we'll talk about the different paths you could go on, but also you'll be prepared, right? You won't be waiting for some guidance from your attorney because sometimes that never comes, right? You won't be waiting on somebody to tell you what you should do because we're going to decide that before you jump into the arena. So you'll be prepared, you'll understand what that process is going to look like for you, and you'll have some clarity that you'll be able to navigate this journey with confidence and peace of mind. I think that's a big piece too. So I help you understand your financial picture, right? This is what you need to know before you start a divorce. It's very important. And a lot of people start this divorce without knowing these things. They just jump in, hire maybe an attorney that their neighbor used or their friend, and hope for the best, right? But this is more of a plan. This is more of a strategy, right? We do a lot of things in life that we plan for. Divorce should not be one of them that you're just hoping for the best. So what you need to know, and this is kind of the foundation of making decisions, right, is what you own, what you owe, right? And it doesn't mean just you, it means as a couple, what you make and spend, very important, and that what you'll need to moving forward with, right? And this last one, I'm going to focus on what you need moving forward. That's something that's usually missed in the divorce process. If you're working with an attorney, usually what they ask is, what do you want? I focus on what you need, right? What you need to move forward in the best possible way. So the first thing when you're in Connecticut, the first thing you're going to do is fill out a financial affidavit. So this is going to help you do this. What's a financial affidavit? It's what you make. It's what you're spending right now. It's what you own and it's what you owe. So knowing that before you even get there with your attorney, you'll be spot on, right? And then also what you need moving forward. Don't forget that piece. That's so. What are some of the common and costly mistakes that I see people making? One is that they start negotiating before they understand their numbers, right? I have a lot of people that do consultations with me, and they're like, my husband's telling me this, or my wife's telling me that, and they don't even know what their numbers look like and they don't understand the process and what that's going to be, right? So they're like making decisions without even understanding what their numbers, what they own and owe, right? And how the process is actually going to work. Another big mistake I see people making, and not with me, by the way, is assuming assets are equal when they aren't. A lot of times you're trying to go for 50-50, right? That's like you 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 each want to come out with 50% of what you have. But um that might not be fair and that might not be equitable. Equal, there's a lot of short and long-term consequences that you need to be aware of. Certain things like taxes, a Roth IRA, you're not going to be paying taxes on in the long run. Traditional IRA, you are, right? So just something simple like that, knowing that what you get is actually equal and fair. I see a lot of times people are forgetting those taxes, the future value, right? What does that future look like? Here's the thing about one of the biggest assets um, in your portfolio are your retirement funds because they make something called compound interest. Um, if somebody winds up with the retirement funds and the other person winds up the house, not fair and equal. right? Those retirement funds are key. Yeah. And look at liquidity, really like having some emergency funds on hand, having some near-term assets so that you can live off of that, and not waiting till you're 59 and a half to be able to collect anything. And not planning, another costly mistake I see made is not planning for those post-divorce expenses. Like I said before, that's something that's usually missed in divorce is like, did you plan for that? Do you know what your post-divorce budget is going to look like? Are you ready for it? Do you have enough to survive? And do you have enough near-term liquid assets to be able to live appropriately and not be strict? Okay. So this is like how to avoid these. The right guidance is going to help you avoid all these costly mistakes. So here's just a couple quick financial tips that you could do today. One is pull your credit report. Very important. Everybody should be doing this every year anyways, but understand what's on your credit report. What do you owe? Okay. Um, Track 30 days of spending. Just 30 days. Write down what you've been spending, what you both spend, right? What does the house look like? How much am I spending on gas? And all those things. Track that for 30 days. Start gathering your statements, your bank statements, your retirement statements, your mortgage statement, anything loan. And then this is a big tip. Don't rush just to settle and get it over with. Clarity should be first and foremost. I'm going to let Carlos go a little more into the children aspect of this, but this is just a slide on what children need most through this, and some tools to reduce the tension between the two of you. And one big thing, you can't control what your ex does, right? But you can control the environment that you create, first and foremost. So my role in your process. I'm a divorce planner and guide. That's like one of the biggest thing I do is I'm a certified divorce financial analyst. I'm also a divorce coach. So I help you understand your numbers. I help you avoid those costly mistakes that I talked about. I help you find that best um, settlement for you and why, right? And how to negotiate effectively during that. I'm also a mediator, which I help guide both parties. And then I'm a co-parenting coach. And that's like helping you communicate. That's usually after, helping you communicate with some calm, reduce conflict, maybe create some boundaries. So, but I'm here. You don't have to figure this out alone either. I also wrote a book. It's called You're Not Alone, and I wrote it for anyone who's considering or facing divorce. It's got templates in here, it's got checklists. It has different chapters about like how to deal with the pain for divorce and how to overcome it, and what are the different paths you can go on. So I wrote it because this was something I wanted when I went through my own divorce. I wanted this book to kind of help me when I was up in the middle of the night Googling. I wanted something that, before I said it out loud, that this was here for me. So I wrote it instead because I couldn't find it. And this is me. I'm here when you're ready. I want you to have clarity in your divorce, some support, and I want you to feel strong as you move into your next chapter, right? This is what I wanted, and I want to be here for you. So thank you. And I'll hand it over to you, Carlos.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. All right. So I know we have a few more minutes until we end for the day. So I want to go ahead and just talk about what's most important. As a guardian ad litem, we look at what's in the best interest of the children and or child, and we look at developmental stages and emotional regulation. The strongest strategy in divorce isn't aggression, it's emotional regulation. Your tone in the text messages matter, your behavior matters, how you speak about the other parent to the child or around the child matters. Courts watch patterns, right? We pay attention to the pattern that is being presented to the children or child, right? And children absorb the emotional tone that both parents bring, whether it's intentional or non intentional. And when there's calmness in the home, it equals stability, and stability protects your child overall. And that's what we look at. We look at regulating yourself and how that looks in your home or in your ex-spouse's home, right? We look at how you handle your child, right? Do you use your child as a messenger, right? Do you put the child in the middle, right? We look at those things and we look at how important it is and if it's important to you, right? Children shouldn't be used as messengers or in adult conversations. They shouldn't be put through loyalty tests, right? Your child should never feel responsible for managing the adult conflict, right? Divorce doesn't damage children, it's the ongoing exposure to conflict that does. And as guardian ad litems, we look at that, right? We look at the conflict. How is it handled? How do both parents manage the adult conflict, right? And we also think developmentally, right? Once we go into your home and we interview the parents and the children and go to their schools and talk to their pediatricians and we're really actively involved, right? After that, we create a parenting plan, right? We try to do it collaboratively, but at times um, it's harder to do it in that way. So we'll go ahead and create a parenting plan that matches the child's age and their overall needs, right? Toddlers need frequent contacts, while teens need a voice to be able to express themselves, right? Um, Anxious children need predictability in their transitions, right? Children who have autism need predictability in their transitions, right? So we look at where the children are developmentally or psychologically or medically, and we try to make decisions based on the development of the child and the children, not emotions, right? So when you're thinking of getting divorced and you're going through that process, just remember that when you do go to court and you can't decide a parenting plan or you can't decide a visiting structure plan, you can request a guardian ad litem. And some parents are just like, hey, I can't even think of this right now. I have all these other financial things I'm dealing with Shell right now. I would really appreciate a guardian ad litem coming in and helping me make that best interest determination for my child or children, right? It takes the load off of the parent, right? And it helps them get the guidance and the support they need. We're trying to figure out a plan that is the best interest of their children, right? Sometimes parents go in and they're like, I want 50-50, right? But after speaking to a guardian ad litem, you might realize that it might be, 80-20 for the first couple years and then move up to 30-40 or, a 50-50 plan gradually, right? Um, we want consistency. We don't want the children feeling like they're living out of a bag, right? We want them to feel at home in both places so that they can feel safe and they can grow, right? And as parents, we know, right? We want our children to be happy. We want them to be smart. We want them to be healthy, and we want them to be comfortable in both homes. And to do that, we have to regulate our emotions and help them, right? Help them see that this will be a transition and help them with predictability so that they can adapt to their this new situation that they're dealing with, right? And then the fourth concept I want to bring to your attention today is the importance of co-parenting, right? You want to treat co-parenting like a business relationship. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. You're moving on to the next stage in your life, and feelings will be hurt, and that's okay. And forgive yourself for those moments. And instead of, sending that long 3-page paragraph text message or yelling at the person when they call you or trying to get into FaceTime when they're with the other parent, regulate your emotions and talk to your therapist about it, but treat the co-parenting relationship that you have like a business relationship. You don't have to like each other. You do have to manage the shared asset, which is your child or your children, right? So how do you do that? You set very clear boundaries. right? Very professional communication. You mediate before litigation when possible, right? Litigation drains money, right? We know that. And conflict drains children, right? So guardian ad litems are hired and mediators are hired to kind of support that structure, try to support the best interest of the children while, not draining your pockets, right? While keeping in the forefront your children. So you set clear boundaries. Don't text after 8, for instance. Don't text before 7. If you want to send a communication by text or email, keep it very brief. We don't need a paragraph, right? Pick up the child at school at 3:30. If you can keep transportation as much as you can between schools, it removes you from being re-exposed to the other parent. So utilize school transportation to avoid that. You obviously don't want to see that person, right? So utilize the structures you have in place to kind of support you and your overall mental health, right? Um, Not using your children for communication, right? Keeping your children completely out of it. Let them not even know what's going on, right? By keeping it very quiet. One day your child will understand that there's a divorce and they went through a divorce. But you don't want those moments to dictate their next steps, right? High conflict divorce affects children's trust later on. It affects their trust, their relationships, schooling. It affects a lot. It affects their weight, their grades, their stability with work. There's a lot of negative reactions to high conflict divorce. And remember, like I said earlier, right, that divorce is not is isn't isn't the vehicle that causes children to be um, not do well in school or work, right? It's the aggression, it's the emotional regulation that causes the negative effects of divorce, right? It's not the divorce itself. So the question is, will they remember you as a reactive parent or a stabilizing parent during that time? Divorce might end marriages, but it does not have to end the parenting. So let's regulate our emotions as much as possible and get through it together so that your children can have that parenting plan that they deserve and need so that they can grow. So I'll leave my information in the chat so you can contact me if you do need a guardian ad litem. I always say you can hire me as a guardian ad litem. I'm not your guardian ad litem or the spouse's guardian ad litem. I'm the child's guardian ad litem, right? I'm here to support the children and the children's best interest. But the best thing is that I'm the person that takes into account everything: police reports, therapist appointments, school visits. We take everything into account before making a parenting plan to present to the judge. So I'll go ahead and leave that information here. And thank you so much for taking time to come today. And I really appreciate you guys giving us a space to be here.
Carlos, we have a couple questions, but I wanted to ask because I mean, first of all, I like what you said that the guardian ad litem, that's a mouthful, by the way, takes the load off of parents. I think that's so key, right? But can they use you in mediation, collaborative divorce, litigation? Does it matter like what they're doing to use a gal?
Yeah, so guardian ad litems, it's the service that you're paying for, right? So if you let's say you chose me to be a mediator, then I would do the mediation. Now, if you wanted to move to guardian ad litem, then it'll move to guardian ad litem. So it's just you can go ahead and hire a guardian ad litem or a mediator for what you need, but you can Usually, sometimes people choose a mediation first. They try to get through it, and then they can't get through that parenting plan, and then they'll hire a mediator or they transition to to a guardian ad litem, and then that guardian ad litem will go ahead and make the overall recommendation.
Ah, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so what tools help manage shared custody schedules smoothly?
Absolutely. So a big tool is My Family Wizard.
Yeah,
Is a great parenting app. You can pay child support on there. You can have a parenting plan on there.
everything.
Everything. It's a
Yeah.
great application. It'll help smooth things out. Um, so you want to definitely use some type of electronic record, and it also blocks any swearing or things of that sort from the text messaging thread. So, and it won't let it send if a parent is like swearing at the other parent.
It
And
keeps everything organized too. So if you ever needed to have a record of something in the future, you have it right there on the app. I
Mhm.
like our Family Wizard as well. That's like my favorite one for my clients to use if they're going to choose one. Talking Parents is not bad either, but
Yes.
the highly, I mean, you can use other tools like, I mean, especially if you're amicable, right? Like if you're amicable, sometimes it's just like using a shared calendar. Google's is a good thing because you can share it, right? But the Our Family Wizard and Talking Parents, those are good. Like if you want to keep it to a minimum, do those boundaries, easily do the boundaries and it keeps people from doing too much, right? Because they can bring it to court.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. What hidden assets or debts are often overlooked? Oh, good question. Hidden assets, points that you have on your credit cards for, they money that you spent, you have points to go travel. That's something that's often overlooked. Another thing is like 401ks from previous jobs. Somebody might not disclose everything. I find that a lot. And like the do it yourself space, people don't disclose everything that they should be, right? So mediators, lawyers, they have a way of getting the detail. And when you do it yourself, sometimes that's not something. Debts that are often overlooked, like if you don't look at your credit report. So one of the big things is like credit card companies, they're not good in divorce. If you're an authorized user on a credit card and your spouse winds up keeping that credit card and through the divorce process, right? And it's in your agreement, and you're still an authorized user and they never take you off, or the credit card company doesn't take you off because that happens a lot. And they stop missing payments, then that debt impacts your credit report, right? Happens way too often. That's something, but there's a lot. There's a lot of stuff to look at when you're looking at the finances. Um, Difference between mediation, collaborative divorce, litigation. So mediation is using a third, both Carlos and I do mediation, right? It's using a third party neutral to help you make your good decisions, right? And it keeps it amicable. I feel like they're kind of like business meetings. They're like you have things to discuss. Most people that do mediation, they finish it, right? Collaborative divorce is when you both have attorneys, right? But you're like it's kind of like a team approach. You might have a therapist, and I don't know, do you do some of those too, the collaborative divorce at all, Carlos, or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll have like a team of people. There'll be a CDFA, there'll be a therapist or a divorce coach or a gal, that it's a very team approach. And then litigation is you both hire attorneys and the attorneys like negotiate together. How do you choose? I always say if you can do mediation, do it. It's better for your children, it's better for your own um, mental health. It takes a shorter time and it takes less money. So financially, you're better off if you choose mediation. Even if you started with that, and you get through, would you agree with this, Carlos? Like you get through like a little bit of the mediation, you're still making decisions together and it's less cost. And if you have to like finalize something like the parenting plan, for instance, like and need to move into like another forum, that that's
Absolutely.
how I would choose, right? Kind of looking at as mediation first, maybe collaborative as second. It can be expensive though, just kind of putting that little caveat on there with the collaborative. And then litigation, it's conflict, right? So if you got children, try to avoid litigation if you can, right? And it's expensive. Oh my God. Lately, I've heard the numbers have been like skyrocketing. I don't know what's happening there, but yeah. Any input on that,
No,
Carlos? No?
absolutely. I think we just gotta keep the cost low as much as possible, right? What I like about guardian ad litems though, as well, is that they take that into account, right? They look into service abuse, right, and financial
Mm.
abuse, right, where sometimes some parents might um, recommend five different services for a child where it's costing the other parent $5,000 because insurance deductible and things of that sort. So you have to take into all those things into account and see if it's medically necessary and contact the providers to kind of work. So again, mediation is great. If you just can't decide, mediation and guardian ad litem. Usually, guardian ad litems can create a mediation agreement, a parenting plan agreement. I mean, towards the end. So sometimes that's always the goal, is that the parents come to an agreement. So yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I bet you've been brought in on mediation agreements because you can help with that parenting plan too, right? And help if somebody's having difficulties in that. So they still can get through the parenting plan,
Yes.
but they utilize you instead of the mediator, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um,
So
okay, hopefully that was helpful. Our
I have,
children are older, 21 and 17. Youngest is heading to college in the fall. Is a parenting plan still necessary? Um, it, if you're doing mediation, the two of you are empowered to make your own decisions. So I would say it's probably a no, right? Most child support in Connecticut, right? It ends at 18. You could go to like 19 and out of high school if whatever comes first too, right? But um, the only thing I would think that's like important here, and you probably already done some things, is like college. And when do you stop paying their direct expenses, right? Till you have an agreement and you've put it into the agreement of like, what does that look like? When do we stop paying for their everyday, gas in their car or insurance on their car or, all those things, right? Is it when they're out of high school? I mean, yeah, is it high school? Is it college? And then insurance, like life insurance is a big thing too, making sure that you guys keep that, but that's not really part of the parenting plan, but part of the agreement. So,
yeah,
yeah.
I'll have that be the last question for today. But I think we could end it with what's important, right? Which is we're all here to make an agreement and come to an agreement as much as possible. And a lot of these agreements, we like to add in there a statement around parents can make those decisions, on their own and independently, together. I mean, not unilaterally. But I think that's really, really important, is that hopefully this helps with the difficult decisions. And as time goes by, you guys can make these decisions and answer these on your own.
We
Um,
had one question about, is it tied to the court? I think you're asking about the parenting app.
yeah, it's not,
Um,
but guardian ad litems can be attached to those apps, and we can read the messages and text messages that they are having.
and I believe like these apps were created to help in the court. It's not that it's tied to the court, but they can print it and it's all organized and they have a record of it, right? That's part of it. How about pending lawsuits? I'm not sure what that means. Pending lawsuits for like somebody has a pending lawsuit against them. You mean financially?
So probably referring to pending lawsuits that have to come in, and if they're getting a pending lawsuit and maybe they're get 10K or something. Yeah, so prior to divorce, like automobile accidents, yeah, they'll that's things that's
Oh, okay. If you have to share that with them, I think maybe you're like saying if you have to. Um, well, I'm just gonna make that could be a long discussion. Okay. I'll just make this one thing. Marital property is anything that you've acquired during the course of your marriage or has increased in value, right? And separate property is anything that you've had prior to your marriage or an inheritance or a gift that's not commingled. An automobile accident, like if there's money coming, could kind of fall into separate property.
Mm.
But disclaimer, Connecticut is considered an all property state. So things like that could get brought into the discussion. Um, and then I'm sure it has to be disclosed in the document. Well, everything you own and owe has to be in the financial affidavit. So if you had something, yes, it's going to be in there, right? Is it going to be in the agreement too? Yeah. Financial affidavit, yeah, it has to be disclosed. Everything has to be disclosed. You're like, it's kind of like saying under an oath that, you have disclosed everything. Now, do people get away with stuff? Yes, but in the DIY space, do it yourself, right? Hopefully that helped.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
good.
Um, Thank you so much everyone for being here. We'll go ahead and post this online, so everyone has access to
Yeah,
this video. We've added
I'll
our
send it out in an email too, so you have it. Okay. Yeah. Right.
our thank you so much,
Wonderful. And
everyone.
get in touch with either of us, okay? If you need anything, have questions,